from my point of view, you have to build this comprehensive argument that picks up on all of those things. It's what is the do-nothing scenario? Yes, more and more decay, more and more unaffordability, more and more health problems. So it really isn't a do-nothing option. So then you have to kind of assemble all the positives. You have to assemble the energy benefits. You know, we were talking about grid demand. Well, if you've reduced the heating and cooling demand by 90%, that's a massive impact. So we have to start thinking of this as part of infrastructure, or even infrastructure that you don't have to build because you've done this. And you have to start bringing in the health benefits. And we have a National Health Service who are starting to look about how they might fund some of these improvements because it reduces the demand on their own services. And you've got, you know, if you can improve on security of the building, you can deal with crime issues, if you can deal with mental problems, if you can deal with self-esteem just by living in a better environment, then with a long-term view, you can justify it. But it's having that long-term view, it's having the capital to do it up front, seeing it as a bit of infrastructure.
Bomee, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm allowed to say, like, I don't know, right? I mean, you know, the funding constraints that we have are real, right? And I think that to the extent that we can take advantage of unique opportunities like the FEMA funding in the sites that KPF and Kirsten Ginsburg are working on, we're doing our best to do that and to push that those towards high performance as much as possible by aggregating other resources that, you know, we can access, like our energy performance program with HUD, for example. But I mean, ultimately, you know, again, I go back to the 92% steam issue, right? Like ultimately by 2050, I mean, we probably can't have that, right? So I guess, you know, the question at that point, and I don't think that this is our immediate challenge, right? I think this is what we're talking about past, like, I don't know, 2025 or something. But maybe at that point we get to the scale where you look at it and go, well, it is so incredibly expensive to replace these district steam systems that we should actually just do what you did, which is improve the performance so much that we can just like throw this out, right? Or leave it, you know, like pull it out or leave it in place or whatever it is, right? So, but beyond that, I mean, you know, it's just that question is what we're struggling with, and compounding that is that, you know, because of the $1 billion that we didn't get over the past 10 years and the other $1 billion in operating we didn't get, you know, we're also talking about, you know, dealing with deferred maintenance and just not just aging buildings, but aging buildings with a lot of, you know, resource, you know, that's been drained away from them. So.
And isn't the ticking time bomb in all of this is climate change? You know, you've got to do something. If we, like in our country, it's about, I think 40%, 45% of energy use is associated with buildings. Most of that homes, but all other buildings. So if we want to reduce our carbon emissions by 80% by 2050, how can you ignore that whole big 45% chunk and just focus on cars or airplanes? You've got to focus on retrofit. Got to be the way to do it, and the way to do it is to do it once and do it well. I think we have to focus on the ugly buildings. You know, there are some nice, brutal buildings in the UK. I'm sure there are here too. But let's look at the easy wins and do those and do them really well.